All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome in to our Didn't Pass Now What webinar. It has officially begun. We are going to give everybody about 3 minutes or so. Some people are getting off of work, just getting transitioned in. So we will give them just a few minutes to come on in to today's session. But yes, why don't we kick it off with just a little bit of icebreakers and see if we can get to know each other a little bit. So let's go ahead and put into the chat. We'll do one or two fun questions and one or two serious questions. Let's start with the fun question. Did anybody see the Michael Jackson movie? What'd you think? You guys get the chance to watch that? See if I can go to the chat and kick it off. I did. Some people not yet. Definitely put it on the list as we're obviously all in here going through the emotions of not passing the bar exam. It would be a good movie to, once you get a moment just to take your mind off of everything and escape into a movie about a legend. Yeah, a lot of people need to still watch it. Okay. All right, well, let's get into bar prep a little bit. Let's see who we have in the audience. The movie was the Michael Jackson movie. I'm interested to see who's in the room. What exam, jurisdiction, what state are you studying for? Are you in California? Are you in New York, Texas? All right, got a lot of California, some Texas, those two that I mentioned. Okay. Any other states other than California, Texas? Okay, Washington, next gen. So as a quick heads up, the information today is going to 100% be useful. I do want to, give you all the heads up now that we are currently within Legally Fit serving the California bar exam and the traditional UBE exam. But again, today is not so much bar prep as opposed to giving everybody next steps, and those next steps will in large part be the same, Genevieve. Okay. One of the things we're going to talk about, and this can be our last icebreaker question. One of the things we're going to talk about today is where are we at emotionally, right? Processing our emotions. Again, I'm assuming everybody in here, or most of us, just found out recently that we didn't pass. So where are you at in this stage? Are you still upset, angry? Are you motivated and ready? Are you excited? Are you nervous? Okay, Jonathan came in motivated, frustrated but determined. So a balance, that's also often the case, a mixture of emotions. Still upset. Okay, Nakima sounds like she's coming in just to hear what's going on, hasn't taken it for the first time yet. Okay, some of this stuff will be relative to you as well, or relevant. Okay. Well, the seminar covers study tactics. Today's session is not going to get into the nitty gritty of particular study tactics, but it's going to talk about how to set up your study plan, how to set yourself up for success, the things to consider, how to start early, when to start early, and all these type of things. You'll see within the first couple of minutes of the presentation what our agenda is, and that'll give you a nice little big picture as well. All right, with that said, we have a fair amount of people in the room. Okay, welcome in everybody. We gave everybody a little grace period to make their way into the session. But with that said, let's officially get started. Quick introduction. My name is DeAndre Aubrey, also known as Professor Aubrey. I'm an adjunct professor at Southwestern Law School. But of course, more importantly, I am the founder of Legally Fit. I started this company about 14 years ago now. I've been doing bar prep for 12. It was designed to improve upon the experience that so many students, go through with either results that aren't favorable, right? They go through a process that fails them, or they go through a process that even when they pass, it's still just harder than what it needs to be, more stressful than what it needs to be, et cetera. So I've dedicated my career to making the process not only more successful, but also more enjoyable. And today I'm here to help you all as you consider your next steps. So regardless of what bar prep program you're going to take, this is our way of giving back to you all, of just assisting you with your next steps. And of course, if you like to continue those next steps with us, we're always here to have that conversation. All right, so let me go ahead and start our presentation. All right, so again, this is the Didn't Pass, Now What event. And the first thing we need to do is address this guy right here. This is the elephant in the room. Elephant in the room is, oops, wrong way. This sucks, all right? The way I like to start this session is that we just go ahead and need to get it out, right? And some of us have already processed it. We might have found out the results weeks ago. Some of us just found out a couple of days ago. And for this first 5 minutes, we just want to vent it out. You might need more of that on your own. And the reality is that it's very important to do that. We're going to talk about that here in a second. But yeah, let's just go ahead and get it out. Feel free to put into the chat, why is this exam ridiculous? Okay, because there's a lot of reasons. I'm not a fan of this format, of this exam. 2 days, 3 days, 3-hour sessions and all the intricacies of it. So let's see it in the chat. Why do you guys think this exam is poorly designed? Okay, I'm going to share mine while we go through it. The idea of memorizing 13 subjects, when in fact you're going to be a practicing attorney and only practice in 1 or 2 areas. Next, the randomization of which subjects are essay tested. You only get 5 or 6 essays depending on your state, right? But we don't know which ones it's going to be, right? So the whole guessing game that comes into play. The randomization of which topics, even if you know it's contracts, property, et cetera, we don't know out of that subject, the hundreds of topics that are available, which topics are going to be tested. So the randomization there, the randomization of the type of PT, the infinite universe of nuance that can be MBE tested, and the subjectiveness and grading, all right? I know a lot of people were close enough to passing that they were in reread territory. So you have firsthand seen how 2 different graders can grade the same essay and give it different scores, right? And not just with small differences, but big differences. One grader can say that this is below passing, and another grader can say this is above passing. How does that make sense? Well, the reality is, again, essay grading and grading a written product is subjective. It's a matter of opinion to some extent. And so, yes, that's another annoying nature of this exam. Let's just see what you guys put in the chat. They cram too many people in the room, right? Like, why are we taking exams under these conditions where it's just so grand and so large and all those distractions? The gatekeeping, right, to keep certain people out of the profession. All right. The price. Why does it cost so much to take this exam, to then not only go into being being an attorney, and then you have to still pay your yearly dues to be an attorney? So, yep, that nature of it. So yes, the list goes on and on, everybody. And again, I'm with you in it. I don't like the exam, right? But at the end of the day, this is how I feel. This test is passable, right? Many of you, many people before you and many people after you have passed this exam, and so can you. And ultimately, we must be so good that all these variables that we're talking about that, essentially suck about this exam, they don't impact our chances of passing. That means we have to take ourselves outside of the risk zone, Outside of the risk zone means you're so good, it doesn't matter which of the 13 subjects they throw at you, what type of PT they throw at you, right? That you are at such a place, whether you take February exam or July exam or this state or that state, that you are that prepared that you are going to pass. And that place is achievable, right? But it does take quite a bit to get there. So how do we get outside of the risk zone? First off, there has to be no gaps in the law, especially the heavily tested topics. For example, right now, if I needed to ask Ashley, what is negligence? What are the elements of negligence? What are the sub-elements of negligence? How does it work? What are the common traps? That is just one heavily tested topic within torts. Things like that you need to know like the back of your hand. We can almost guarantee negligence is going to come up on any bar exam in any administration, whether it's an essay or multiple choice question. So it's things like that where there has to be no gaps in the law, especially with heavily tested topics. Next, no significant weaknesses. As many of us know and have identified with, we have a weakness in one or multiple areas of the exam. It can be essay, PT, or MBE. And the reality is that as much as this is a total scaled score that you're graded on, so one portion can definitely help raise a lower portion, you just can't have anything dragging you down. If you are scoring well below average in the MBE, well, you're asking for a miracle on the essay and the PT to raise your score high enough to pass. So I'm all about, as we see on the next slide, leveraging your strengths to create cushions. You want to do both. You want to leverage your strengths, but at the same time, you have to have your weaknesses meet a certain floor. Otherwise, you won't be able to pass. So these are the three things of what it means and what it takes to do just what I mentioned outside the risk zone. I can pass February, I can pass July, I can pass California, New York, whatever they throw at me. That's the ideal place to be in because you can walk into the exam confident and ready to go. Now, the question is, that sounds great on paper, but how do I get there, right? And this is the part of understanding what it really means to be, right, not susceptible to not passing this exam. So here are the next steps after figuring out you didn't pass. Step number 1 is process the results, okay? Step 2, reflect on why. And 3, create your attack plan. Most students skip 1 and 2, right? It might even skip 3. They just want to get straight back into studying. But all of these are the necessary ramp up to make sure this next time you do it is different and the last time you do it. The bulk of what we talk about today is going to be on creating your attack plan, but let's go in order. So first off, process your emotions, right? Process the results. Everyone must go through their own way of processing their emotions. Party, cry, laugh, reflect, destroy, ignore. The reality is that if you don't process these emotions will distract you during bar prep. If you are still upset at yourself, upset at the exam, angry, anxious, and all these things, that's going to eat at you during your 10-week prep. So when you're in the middle of learning contracts and you're trying to focus, but you still have these unprocessed emotions, that's going to get in your way of staying focused. It's going to disrupt you and disrupt your studying to, again, process those at that point. We want to do as much of that now as we can. So now when we are ready to study, we're as motivated and focused as possible. And hopefully on the other end, of processing your emotions, some of us hopefully now can start to realize that, hey, this is part of our story and I want you to own it. I think this space, right, we all want to be first-time passers. Depending on the state that you're in, for most people, we're not first-time passers. The exams pass rate has changed drastically over the years. So more times than not, students are taking this more than once, but yet we still have this societal norm that, yes, I should pass on my first attempt. And of course we want to, but not passing does not define you, your career, or how successful you're going to be. And again, would there be a great feeling with passing your first time? Sure. But there's also a story of perseverance and, not quitting and sticking with this and ultimately conquering it that is also very powerful. And so to support that, I want you to realize that you are in the company of other great people who have accomplished great things in their life. Every person that you see here has taken the bar exam more than once. Okay? Michelle Obama, Kamala Harris, Judge Eric Taylor was the presiding judge over Los Angeles. Hillary Clinton, the mayor Villaraigosa, he took it 4 times before passing and ended up becoming mayor. President Roosevelt, JFK Jr., all of these people are household names, took the bar exam more than once. Okay? So again, it sucks, but let's own it, and there's still so much of your story to be written. All right. After we process our emotions and we go through that whole process, now it's time to reflect. And this is where I challenge all of you to do just like this picture is look in the mirror. And you have to ask yourself, where did I go wrong, right? Because obviously the exam is what it is and it's annoying. Maybe there was outside life circumstances that also affected your chances of passing. There's deaths in the family, there's getting sick, right? There's all these other outside variables, kids, work. But there's also you looking in the mirror of like, what can I do better next time? So let's go through these categories of questions that can guide your own reflection. First off, you ask yourself, did I do the work? 600 to 650 hours. You're going to see that come up multiple times today. The first question is, did you put in that amount of time in a consolidated 10-week course, right? Or maybe you extended it out to 12 or 13, but in that short-ish window, did you put in that number of hours to do the practice, memorize everything, and walk in prepared? When you're simply not putting in the hours, you're simply putting yourself outside the risk zone. This would be the equivalent of somebody who wanted to be an Olympic swimmer, but you've only practiced 5,000 hours. Well, sorry, Michael Phelps practiced 20,000 hours, so you're just not at that same place, right? So there is a direct correlation between the amount of time that you put in and your chances of passing. So did you take too many breaks? Did you take days off? Did you take vacations, right? Which I hear sometimes. Did you skip some of the subjects and topics? This is not getting yourself outside the risk zone. If you're in that boat of, wow, they just tested property on the essay, so I don't think they're going to test property again, so I'm going to back off of that subject or a little bit. Or I'm going to back off of this subject that's rarely tested. And then lo and behold, they end up testing it, and now you're caught in a tough position. So yes, skipping subjects and topics is not a way to be outside the risk zone. And then you have to do enough practice. 2,200 MBEs, 100 essays, and 8 PTs. And by the way, we're going to go through this entire presentation and try to get through it within this hour time frame. So I take, good use of your time, but I will stick around afterwards for questions. So if you have questions, feel free to use the Q&A feature or write them down. We'll even let some students speak at the end. So if any questions come up as we're going through this, feel free to write them down. All right, so that's did I do the work? Next, did I do it right? It's not just about how much practice you do, right? But that is important, but it's also how do you do it? Did you study in a distraction-free environment? It doesn't matter if you studied 8 hours, if you were distracted the entire time. You had the game on in the background, you had social media open, and you're going back and forth between social media and studying or whatever it may be. It's too loud, etc. Did you have a proper study environment? Right? Are you studying in a space that's actually conducive to you learning, or is it distracting? What is your daily routine? And do you have one, right? Do you have what time you wake up, what time you start studying, what time you take your lunch breaks, and all of those things? Or are you just trying to find hours here and there? And are you learning from your mistakes? This is that's something to highlight, write down, everybody, one key nugget. There'll be a lot of nuggets today, but learning from your mistakes is one of the key characteristics of a passing student. The bar exam is filled with patterns on how to write, patterns on how to organize, patterns on how to issue spot. If you haven't been trained, nor have you figured it out yourself on the proper way to study in a way that you learn from these mistakes and catalog those mistakes, then you're making all of the same mistakes over and over again and not improving. So we'll talk about this more in our free workshops later in the week when we get into essays and get into MBEs. But learning from mistakes is crucial. Okay, it's the only way we get to improve. And then lastly, did I lose the mental game? Okay, so as we all heard, the bar is half mental. Okay, are you in that position or have been in that position where you are spending too much time on planning out your days, planning out this, comparing to what other students are doing in other bar prep programs or on Reddit and on Facebook, or you're researching other supplements to buy? You could literally spend all your time, thinking about studying, talking about studying, as opposed to just studying. So that's one thing of like, make sure you're locked in, and you use the time like now to figure all these things out. But once you get started, you need to have tunnel vision, right? You're with your program. If you're in a program like Legally Fit, you have your community, your peers within that, and that's it. Block out all the noise so you can stay focused. Did you stay on schedule? We're going to talk about this in a bit. Staying on schedule is paramount. Once you fall behind, everything starts to spiral. And did you battle negative thoughts well, right? The idea is that everybody's going to have negative thoughts during the bar prep. Am I going to pass? What if I don't pass? Is my job going to let me go? Is my wife or my husband going to leave me, right? All the types of negative thoughts that we can have. Have we found the way to not let those disrupt an entire study day, to disrupt an entire study week? So we have to continue to work on that mental fortitude. So that way, again, back to the 600 and 650 hours of work that we're putting it in, and they're all high value. Okay, so there you go. Questions on how you can start that reflection, everybody. Very important step to figure out what you can do, what you're in control of to change your next prep period. Now, and last thing, all three of these are extremely important. Any one of these can be the single reason why one doesn't pass. If you do 650 hours and you stayed mentally strong, but you were distracted the whole time studying, you're likely not going to pass. Or you had a distraction-free environment, but you were only in that environment for 200 hours in your 10-week program, right? Chances are you might not pass. You're at risk, at least, of not passing. So again, all three of these are required. All right, we're now going to talk about creating your attack plan. And this is what I'm sure everybody anticipated coming into this event, which is how am I going to take my next steps? And we're going to lay it out step by step for you to make sure you're feeling confident and ready to go. The overview is we're going to assess your time commitment. We're going to consider an early start, how to select your next or continued bar prep provider, and how to customize your study plan. Okay. All right. So time commitment is the first one. Determine how many hours you can commit a day and how many days a week you can study. Here is where most students go wrong. One, their plan was off from the start. As I mentioned to many students in conversations, some students are simply not going to pass before they even begin bar prep because they don't have a proper plan. So we're going to talk about what that looks like, but that is the key. You have to set yourself up for success to begin with. Next, they couldn't stick with the plan. And the reality is that both situations lead to students falling behind. Falling behind is where everything starts to spiral. You're juggling old tasks with new tasks. Do I go back and do that contracts essay that I missed, or do I do the torts multiple choice that's assigned for today? And once you get into that whole juggling never ends once you're in that spiral of falling behind. Then you start skipping tasks, you start skipping subjects, right? And things like that. Even worse, now it's playing on the mental because you feel behind. You're losing focus and you lose confidence. And that's, again, a place not where we want to be. We We want that trajectory to continue upward, not downward. So you must create a proper plan and you must protect that plan. Here's your steps, right? Feel free to take some notes on how to create your plan. You want a thorough plan, you want a realistic plan, and then you have to stick to the plan. A thorough plan, again, it should include 600 to 650 hours. Your goal is always full-time study, right? That's 8 to 12 hours a day. That's 6 to 7 days a week. Is that a lot? It is. Is the bar exam a lot? Yes, it is. So that is the reality of what full-time studying looks like, and that is what you should be striving for. For people who have work or other personal commitments, caretaking, things like that, and you cannot do 600 to 650 hours, you have two options. Either you start early in a way that's sufficient, or two, you plan for an administration out. You plan, instead of for July, you plan for February. And now you can make sure you create a good, thorough plan that's actually sustainable, right? We can have those conversations in one-on-one calls or even after the session if you feel like you need help figuring out what boat you're in. But yes, you want to study full time. And if you can't, you need a very intentional plan. Also, in a thorough plan, you need to avoid imbalanced approaches. If you're spending too much time watching videos, going through outlines versus practicing, or vice versa, that's not good. Too much time reviewing or imbalanced approach reviewing subjects. I'm spending all my time on contracts, property, torts, but I haven't touched crim law, con law, civ pro. Okay, you need a balanced approach there. And then too imbalanced on essays versus MBEs versus PTs and working on all of those skills. Now, as we'll talk about at the end of this, there is room for customization, but you just cannot go too far to where that imbalance is so great that you're creating issues while you're fixing them. All right, next is a realistic plan. Be realistic about the number of hours you can commit, account for work, family, or mental fatigue, and build a plan that feels good and sustainable. All right, whenever I'm working with students and we're having calls and we're talking about, all right, what's their game plan? The first thing I say is like, how many hours, can you commit to bar prep? And then the follow-up question is like, okay, so now what's the realistic number of hours you can commit to bar prep? Because we naturally want to be a little overzealous. We want to say, yeah, in my mind, I really want to study 60 hours a week. Or maybe for you, you're working. It's like, yeah, I really think I can study 30 hours a week. But then you really think about it and it's like, are you really filling that schedule up to the brim in a way that you're not accounting for just like rest or being tired or other things that you have on your plate as well? So you have to make a real honest, assessment of your situation of like, how many hours realistically am I going to put in? And then lastly, with that, one of the best things to use in a lot of this is your gut. When you make a plan for your bar preparation, to some extent, it should feel good and feel sustainable. So listen to yourself. If you make a plan with the number of hours and I'm going to study this many hours a day, etc., and you're already looking at it and internally it doesn't feel like you're going to be able to do that, then you need to know that this is probably not realistic. It should feel good and something that you can accomplish. Next is stick to the plan. I want you to limit distractions because those will slow you down. I want you to battle the fatigue. Don't let fatigue win. So the way you battle fatigue, in my opinion, is diet, sleep, and exercise, the Holy Trinity, as well as just, getting used to it, right? And repetition. But diet, sleep, and exercise, those are the three things that allow us to stay focused, be rested, and be able to go through this marathon of studying. So we have to battle that fatigue, not just complain about it and let it continue to slow us down. Also, lean into support or accountability, right? Sometimes, like Legally Fit, your bar prep program will offer that. Sometimes you have to rely on that in, outsourced ways of family members or friends or peers who are also studying. But I think it's very important to go through bar prep with somebody so that you're not just isolated doing this alone. Okay. And then reach out for guidance when making adjustments. So, in the event that you do fall out of your plan and you do fall behind, a lot of times students are now on their own trying to course correct. And when you're doing that on your own, you guys are not necessarily bar designers, right? Of schedules. So you may hit the mark and come up with something good as far as how to recreate your schedule, but you also may create something that's short-sighted, that you're not accounting for something that's then going to hurt you. So if you are making adjustments, it's good to get some guidance from a bar expert on what you're doing. All right, so that's creating your plan. Creating a proper plan is half the battle. Most students lack guidance with this crucial step. So again, guidance can be very beneficial when creating your plan as opposed to doing it on your own. Next, let's talk about early start. Assess whether an early start is optional or mandatory based on your circumstances. Today is May 4th. Your bar prep starts on May 18th. That's your 10-week window. So that's essentially 14 days, 13 days if you don't count today, that you have to start early. All right, so let's talk about whether or not you must and how you would use this window. Where most students go wrong, they don't take advantage of an early start. Now, I will stop here and just simply say that you need to use this start in some productive way no matter what. But one thing that's not on these slides that is also the real reality for some students is if you need a second to reset and reboot so you can give it your everything when the 10 weeks start. So if you're in that boat, that is also still productive. However, you need to be very honest with yourself if that's what you absolutely need. Because if not, you need to go ahead and use an early start to get ahead and increase your chances of passing. The next way students go wrong is that their start is inefficient. Many students simply want to start early by, let me just jump in and do some multiple choice questions, right? Let me start reviewing contracts or reviewing subject law. Let me just knock off the cobwebs. And is that something? Absolutely. But is that really moving the needle? A lot of times it may not be as much as we think. So you really want to have an intentional plan, and I'm going to show you some options on what that looks like for what's really going to move the needle. They don't have an intentional early start that sets them up for success. A proper early start includes evaluating and adjusting your study habits based on your needs, so personalizing it, preparing your life, and addressing key issues with the law or the skills. Don't waste this opportunity to get ahead or simply to lighten the load of your 10-week intensive. Here are the type of students that I want to speak to at this stage of who I believe must start early. First off, the I'm ready student, right? Why not start early? You're pumped, you're ready to go, you're ready to give this thing your all, so go ahead and get started early. The I have less time student. I'm working, I'm a caretaker. I have things that don't allow me to study 600 to 650 hours during the 10 weeks. So stretch it out and start and give yourself an extra 2 weeks. This is also for the person who anticipates disruptions during that 10-week window. I have a wedding. I have to go out of the country. I have this or that. I have a surgery, whatever it may be. That's also reasons where you might have less time. And then lastly, the I'm far off student. If your scorecard indicates that you need significant improvement to pass, then I recommend that you absolutely start early. For the California bar exam, that's if you're 35 points off or more. And for the UBE exam, that's if you're 15 points off or more. If you're in that boat, that's a significant jump that you need, and you must start early. All right, now here are your ways to start early, okay? You have the options to choose from one of these three. There might be another way you may think of, but this is a great place of what I recommend to choose from on your options. extended study, extra study, or simply prepare your life. Extended study. This is imperative for those unable to commit to the 600 to 650 hours in the 10 weeks. Essentially, what you want to do is take your bar prep schedule, right? So no matter what company you're signing up for, you have your calendar, and you simply need to now stretch that out from 10 weeks to 12 weeks. All right. And so then that way you're giving yourself more time to complete the task. So this is just really, again, an extended opportunity to complete those hour requirements. Now, the other category is extra study. Let's say I have a student in here who is studying full time still, right? What you now get to do is have this extra time to develop your biggest weaknesses. And that can be with the law or with certain portions of the exam. So Rebecca might say, contracts is my toughest subject. It always kills me. I got the lowest score in my MBEs here. Let me go ahead and comfortably do a deep dive into contracts for 4 days, right? Or, man, I really struggle with essay writing and I just can't figure out how to tackle this in a templated way. Let me study essay strategy before I start my program so I can figure this out and then just practice once I'm in my 10 weeks. So those are ways to use your extra study to attack your biggest weaknesses. And then lastly is prepare your life. This is for those that have busy and demanding lives. Your goal is to go through the process now to set yourself up for as much of a distraction-free bar prep period as you can. You prepare your work, right? And your employers. You prepare your relationships. You prepare the things, right, that are going to require time and energy from you to require the least amount of that as possible. Also, plan out your study space, your routine, your nutrition and meal prep, your self-care. The reality is, I think everybody should account for prepare for your life, no matter if you're doing extended study or extra study. And just depending on your circumstances, the more or less time you have to spend in that category. Okay. Let's see if I have anything. Okay. All right. Let's move on to the next. One of the perks of Legally Fit that we want to mention here is that students who sign up with Legally Fit will receive early access to their materials and a complimentary one-on-one call for guidance to help customize their early start. So a big theme of what you're going to hear with Legally Fit is that you're not isolated. We're here from the beginning to the middle to the end to be here to help you figure these things out. So yeah, this is one of the perks. Okay, so let's move on now. From early start, we've talked about time commitment, we've talked about early start. Now, how do you select your course provider? This is a foundational pillar for setting yourself up for success. One may think, right, it doesn't matter which company I choose, Barbary, Themis, Legally Fit, Kaplan, etc. But the reality is that these programs truly do vary. And it is your responsibility to make sure you're selecting the one that's going to put you in the best position to be successful. Where most students go wrong. They pick a provider based on cost, convenience, or brand recognition rather than best fit. This one's the cheapest. I took this one before, so they're giving it to me for free. I don't feel like going through the process of looking at other ones. I'm just going to go with the one that I already have. Right? Oh, I've heard this one before through my school or somebody else. Maybe this is it. These are all things that can be variables, right? But these should not be ultimately what you use to select your course. Students go wrong when they're focused on saving money now only to pay more money later. Another failed attempt at the bar exam means paying for another exam, another bar prep program, and more time away from work, and going through the stress of bar prep all over again. Remember, this whole process is around 6 months between studying, taking the exam, and waiting for your results. So what you pay in not passing is way more than what you'll pay in going with a program that's going to be good for you. So keep that in mind. And again, I understand it, right? Nobody wants to continue shelling out money, but it's one of those things that you might put yourself, it's almost like, think of like a consumer product. Let's say you're buying pots and pans, and you keep buying the $10 pot and pan. You keep buying the $10 pot and pan, and it keeps on burning out on you or getting scratched up, and you have to throw it out every month, as opposed to buying that one $80 pan that's going to last you a lifetime. That's really the same psychology that you're looking at with this. And obviously the numbers are greater, but that's the way that you have to look at this. Okay. So here's what matters the most when you are selecting your bar prep program: materials that match your learning style, strategy that makes your study hours effective and efficient, and real support for questions, adjustments, and accountability. At the end of the day, those are the three things that matter. You're going to be living in materials every single day. So are you actually learning the law, or are you using materials that force you to teach yourself? Strategy, right? We're going to get into what that looks like. And then support. Are you isolated, or do you have support? Here's what you deserve from your bar prep course. It should make studying feel clearer, faster, and more focused. You should never feel lost or that you're self-teaching. So if you're watching a 5-hour lecture video only to then go and reteach yourself the same exact thing, that's a problem. On the first prong, making studying clearer, faster, and more focused, it's your bar prep's job to lay everything out in a clear way of, here's what you need to do. Here's what you need to improve on. Here's how you even improve on those things. Everything should be laid out to where you just have to do the hardest part of doing it every single day and keeping focused and determined to see it through. But you shouldn't be having to figure things out in the middle of studying. Next, you want a schedule that is modular and easy to customize. A lot of programs are cookie cutter and one size fits all, and it's hard to even customize it to your needs. So you want something that's customizable. And then lastly, and this one is actually very, very important, your confidence should be growing throughout bar prep, right? And that comes from day-to-day improvement. A lot of you, I know, have gone through a different course where you don't even feel good as you're going through the course. You don't feel like you're better understanding the subjects or better improving in your skills. And so you're not walking into the exam confident because you haven't felt that build throughout bar prep. But there is a world in which it is the opposite, where you can feel and see the progress as you go. And that's how you build confidence. So the takeaway here is that this is an investment in your future. And make sure that you choose the course that gives you the best chance of passing. And again, whichever course that is. And that's where research is required on your part. Why most bar prep programs fail you. Nice little recap of a little bit of what we talked about. Most bar prep programs miss the mark. The materials are too much. You got books stacked up to your waist, all this extra information, these longer outlines that have more material that they're not consolidated down to really what's tested, or they're inconsistent. Rules in your outline are different than rules in your essay sample answers, are different than rules in other materials. So now you have to choose, what rules am I going to use? Strategy. You have the strategy, a lot of the bar prep programs is just do more. But they're not changing how you do things, how you do essays. What are the templates? What are the strategies? What are the formulas that you can repeat? And then lastly, again, support. The thing about bar prep is that you're going through this process still as a student, learning this exam. You're going to have questions. You're going to hit walls. You're going to have obstacles and problem areas. And sure, some of those you can figure out, but for the other ones, you need to have a program that lays out the solutions and gives you the opportunity to ask questions in the event you can't figure it out. Passing the bar starts with the right system. And so you want, again, your materials, your strategy, and your support to look like this, in our opinion. You want clear, consistent, and built for retention materials. You want strategy that's built for you to study smarter, not just harder, right? And templates for every portion of the exam. And then lastly, on the support side, and what we offer within Legally Fit are live workshops, right? So you have the opportunity to do exercises in real time and get immediate feedback. There's office hours for questions, right? And direct guidance. All right, so that is everything on some guidance on selecting your bar prep course. Now we're going to move on to customizing your study plan. The goal here is to avoid the cookie cutter approach. Customize bar prep to your needs and your circumstances. Where most students go wrong. They join a program that's hard to customize. They don't reflect on their scorecards, and they don't reflect on their last study period. Again, so many of us are so just frustrated and ready to just get back at this that we don't take advantage of all the data that we have. Every retaker in here, if this is at least your second attempt, you have at least 10 weeks from your last study period to reflect on, and you have at least one scorecard. And that's multiplied if you've taken the exam more than once. The information from those two questions is such valuable information on how you need to adjust your next study period. We'll talk about how. But the biggest risk, right, of not customizing your schedule is just that one, if you don't customize your schedule, you are more prone to making the same mistakes or not addressing your biggest weaknesses. The second one is some students will try to customize their schedule, but they'll do so poorly. The worst thing a repeat taker can do is fix an issue and create a new issue at the same time. And so you have to, again, make sure your customization is holistic to avoid that. Here's how you properly customize your schedule. Diagnose and evaluate your last study period. Diagnose and evaluate the data from your scorecards. Choose the right program as the foundation of your customization. So again, choose a customizable course. Make changes to the strategy and task list based on your needs. So that's where you make your changes, right? So if it's, all right, Legally Fit schedule tells me I want to do, 5 open book exams today. Well, I'm a retaker and I know my big issue is time management more than knowing the law. So you know what? Instead of doing 5 open book exams today, I'm actually going to do 3 instead and do 2 more timed essays because I need that. Those are the type of changes to strategies that we're talking about. And then you can also change your task list. On a given day, you might have 90 multiple choice to do. Well, I passed the multiple choice. I'm still going to do multiple choice, but maybe I can draw back a little bit to address my weakness. So instead of doing 90 multiple choice, maybe I'll do 60 multiple choice and add in an additional essay or 2 today. So those are the type of things you can change as far as strategy and task lists. And then lastly, have a trusted bar expert review this customization of yours to ensure its wholeness. So again, within Legally Fit, we can do that for you. If not within your bar prep program that you choose, maybe it's a person at your school, right? A part of the academic support office that they can review it. But get somebody that can help you look over this to make sure it's holistic and it sounds and looks good. Remember, a proper plan is half the battle, okay? It's like going into war. If you're going into war without a plan, a strategy for attack, you've already lost the war before it's begun, right? Same thing with this bar exam. Have a proper plan before you even begin. All right, here are some questions for you all to help you get started with customizing your prep. How will you relearn the law? What does your practice schedule look like? And what is your program and or supplements? So, how will you relearn the law? A big question for retakers are, am I going to rewatch videos? What type of resources do I learn best from? Did I really learn from watching videos? Did I learn best from reading the outline? Do I learn best from just listening to, right, the audio of lectures? So you want to assess what are the things that you gravitate towards the most so you can prioritize those type of materials in your next prep. And then what type of support do I need in this area, in this arena? So this, again, assessing, did you really learn the law the previous times? Do you really know negligence? Do you really know contracts? Some of us are in good positions, but others are still lacking in their understanding of the topics. Next, what does your practice schedule look like? Do you need a balance approach, or do you need to shift hours into more practice on a particular area? How much shifting is too much shifting? So to paint the picture here, one of the classic situations that I'll get is a person who comes to me and they have a scorecard, and from my interpretation, their scorecard is actually showing, equal room for improvement on every portion of the exam, essay, MBE, or PTs. But in their mind, they've built the narrative that, man, I just really struggle with these MBEs. So then they'll create a customized study schedule for themselves that hyper focuses on multiple choice, and then they still didn't increase their essays that were needed, and so they don't end up passing. So making sure you are really aligned with, do you need a completely balanced approach, or do you need to shift a little bit of that time into one arena more than the other? And when you do, again, you cannot overshift. You cannot say, you know what? I'm just going to leave multiple choice for the last 2 weeks. I need to go ham, focus all my time on essays in these first 8 weeks. That type of imbalanced approach is a recipe for disaster. It's more like slight adjustments, like I gave an example of earlier. All right, next, what is your program and or supplements? So we know part of customization is, what are my collection of tools and resources? I will say within Legally Fit, we make it very clean and simple that we want our students to have a lean setup. You only need our course and Adaptabar or UWorld for your bank of questions, and from there, you are good to go. But some students live in the world in which they have other programs that may require them, or they feel the need to get additional supplements, cheat sheets, flashcards from here, other outlines and things like that. So you want to ask yourself, do I have the proper program? Because again, if you're choosing the wrong one that's forcing you to get all these extra supplements, that's where your foundation is not strong to begin with. And then from there, you've learned today that there are so many things to do to prepare yourself for a better study period next time. But the first thing that a lot of students will think of when it comes to getting ready for this exam is, what do I need to buy, right? What am I going to buy that's going to be this silver bullet for me passing? And when you're in the world of supplements, like very one-off things, those are typically not it, right? You're not going to get a passing result from that one, book of outlines or that one set of flashcards. It's coming from this holistic approach and all these other things. And again, to me, it starts with a holistic program that's really preparing you. So keep that in mind. And then lastly, do you have resource overload, right? Did you not pass the bar exam, and then every friend and every mentor has thrown a now new resource at you? Use this Emmanuel book, use this essay book, use this company, use that company, and now you just have all these things. That in and of itself is a crutch. Again, you want a as lean as possible system, because that's where you're going to have consistency in what you're learning from. Okay. As a reminder for those that just came in, if you have any questions, please write them down, use the Q&A feature. And again, I will address questions here shortly towards the end. So those are the 3 portions, right? We talked about processing your results. We talked about reflecting on where you went wrong. And then we just went through creating your attack plan. The next step is I want to give you guys some of the detail on the Legally Fit program and how we address all of these areas. So Legally Fit's bar prep, its short description is that we are an updated and improved version of the traditional 10-week boot camp. Our program is designed to be comprehensive, structured, and built to give you everything you need to pass. The highlights are, our program is structured as a hybrid between a big box course and a private tutor for support. The way that we accomplish this is, again, in our live program, we will offer live workshops about 3 to 4 times a week on most weeks, where we are in session together via Zoom, and we're going through multiple choice questions together, essays together, and I'm going through not only opportunities for you to participate in giving live feedback, but I'm also going through the common mistakes that students are making and the solutions to how to fix those issues. So that's how you're getting this hybrid, as opposed to the big box experience where it's like, here's your books, good luck. Next, it's truly comprehensive. Again, sometimes when you get into the world of private tutors, a lot of private tutors out there are specialists maybe in just one area of the bar exam. Oh, I can help you with your essays. Oh, I can help you with your PTs. But they're not covering everything. And again, as we're talking about and learning, in large part, you want a balanced, comprehensive study approach. So yes, we accomplish that as well. The legally fit difference, I can try to summarize it into this nice short and sweet slide, but I think all of our testimonials, if you have the opportunity or even like the opportunity, we can set it up for you to talk with one of our previous students. But the legally fit difference is something that's very, very noticeable when you're coming over from a different company. It's summarized into those three pillars of material, strategy, and support, but the true gravity of it is something that you feel once you're in the program. We do have a sample of our materials, so you can get a taste of it as well. But yes, I'll talk about again those options to get your appetizer of our program. But I do want to inform you and let you know that we are very much so different than what you've done before, which for a lot of students who are new to Legally Fit, it gives them this rejuvenated, excited, new lease on bar prep where it's like, okay, I have a program now that I feel confident in that's showing me how to improve, and that confidence grows and grows and walks you into the exam. Our programs are available in live and on demand. Before I go into more of that, let me kind of go through the little timeline. We're all this person starting here with our book open. We're still exploring bar prep for some of us. If you like, you can book a consultation call with us, which is basically just a conversation. If you have questions about the program, how it would fit with your circumstances or your schedule. You can also get sample materials of Legally Fit materials, so you could see what our lectures look like, what our outlines look like, all of those things. You don't have to wait to sign up to see those. We give you our entire property class from bar prep. So we just removed property law out of our bar prep program and put it into a sample that you get to experience. And if you'd like, we can set you up with a former Legally Fit student so you can hear firsthand how their experience was. Next is early start options. I'm going to talk about it in more depth in a second, but the repeater assessment and strategy call is a 1-hour call with me that is a deep dive of where basically I'm going through all of what we did today to help build your customized approach. And that's whether you go with Legally Fit or not. So again, we'll talk about that here in a second. Next is our Bar Taker Advantage course. Unfortunately, everybody here that's studying for the July exam is outside the window of this, but I did see some people are studying for February. So this is a 12-week, 13-week course that you can take before you go into bar prep. And it's essentially to do a lot of what we've talked about. It's to identify your weaknesses early and address them. It's to refresh the law and make sure you have a foundation in all of the bar tested subjects and all of those things. So this Bar Taker Advantage course is designed to give you that advantage before or as you enter your 10-week bar prep. But for all those taking July, if you were to sign up, let's say today, what you do get is early access to all your materials and the ability to get in there and get started. And again, if you want to meet, we can go over the best ways for you to start early on your own before our program officially starts on May 18th. On May 11th, we have orientation. So this is an awesome week that it's before the official start of our bar prep, but this is where we're going through our schedule and study expectations. And we go through our strategy for every portion of the exam. This is where we lay the foundation for essays, multiple choice, and PT strategy. So that way, when you get into your 10-week program, you're more in the mode of practice. All right, and then May 18th, in this whole bottom row, that is our 10-week course. 7 weeks of learning, right? Learning from our mistakes, doing a lot of practice, relearning the law. 1 week of doing a mock exam and assessing where we're at and what problems have remained. And then 2 weeks of executing a personalized attack plan based off of that mock exam to ramp you up for the exam. And the goal is that everyone is going to walk into the bar exam with confidence and ready to pass. After 12 years and helping thousands of students, we've helped a student just like you pass. First-time takers, high GPA takers, low GPA takers, parent retakers, few points away, multiple attempts, working retakers, and even significant points away. So whatever situation you're in, we've helped a student just like you. And lastly, I want to share what we're super proud of, which is some of our legally fit records. All right. Our first record is we've helped a UBE retaker improve 37 points and pass. So if you're in that position where you need a significant jump, this is our number. If you need more than 37 points, we're always looking to beat our own records and help you pass as well. But this is a significant jump for the UBE exam. Once a California retaker came to us 3 weeks before the exam and passed. Now, I will say, I do not recommend this at all, but yes, it was also a testament to how good this program is that they came to us within 3 weeks of the exam and purchased our program and ultimately passed. We've also had a California retaker with a huge jump of 178 points. And again, just like UBE, all my California students know how big of a jump that is. Again, if you are anything less than 178, you're in a space where clearly you can make that jump. And if you're more than 178, we're again excited to work with you to make a new record. And then last, our record for number of failed attempts was a student who came to us with 6 failed attempts from using previous, other bar prep programs. And once they came to Legally Fit, they passed. So they passed on their 7th attempt. So again, talking about owning your story, somebody that did not give up, took it on their 7th time with us and went on to pass. All right. Our 2 options are our live and on demand. Really quickly, I talked about this, but just to summarize it, your program highlights are going to be office hours, our live workshops that we go through the skill building for every portion of the exam. You're in a program that holds and keeps you accountable. We have mentally fit forms that are optional, but they're a place to meet with this group that we have, this bar prep community that we have, just to talk through what's going on, what are the challenges of this week that we're facing, what are the solutions to improve next week. So this is basically just your group support system that if you want to take part of, you can. And there's always Legally Fit alumni and staff members who are here to mentor you and support you through the process as you need. We also have some additional extras and surprises for this program, but they wouldn't be surprises if I told you what they were. But as you invest in us, we really invest in you and we give you everything we've got to make sure you pass. This course is $5,000. The on-demand version of this course is the independent study version. So you'll receive the same quote unquote 10-week course. You get the same materials, the same schedule, and the recordings of the lectures, but you have no live workshops, no office hours, or that extra accountability that comes with those things. But this was created for the student who either one, had budget restraints that didn't allow them to do the 5,000, but still really wanted to be a part of Legally Fit, or for the person that just simply doesn't, feel like they want that version of bar prep. Like they're okay being the lone wolf, but they just need better materials, a better schedule, etc. This program is $2,500. Now, one of the things that we're doing as a special for attending this session is that we are offering you all $500 off of the live program and $300 off of the on-demand. This discount is only good for 3 days. And if you'd like it, you can scan that QR code. You also get it via email as well, but you can go to sign up, and those are your codes to get those discounts. Okay, so again, 3 days from today, this is our offer to you. Really appreciate you all coming in and also investing in your future. A lot of you, I mean, it looks like 90% of you stayed all the way to the end. So kudos to you for staying all the way to the end to get this information. As we wrap up, dates and deadlines, we have 2 events later this week. These are great for just more free events from Legally Fit to help you learn. We have Breaking Down the Bar essay. We're going to go through how to go through essays. We have Breaking Down the Bar MBE. Look out for emails, scan the QR code, and sign up for those. That'll be later this week. And then Monday, the 11th is orientation, and Monday, the 18th is the first day of prep. Here's a recap of what you must do after this session. Process your emotions, reflect on your areas of improvement, and create your attack plan. Again, you are now capable of, with the information that I gave you, to do the next steps on your own. With some of those, you might want to find a bar expert to review those things, right? But if you want assistance right out the gate of doing it, you have Legally Fit support in the form of the assessment and strategy call and a consultation call. So this repeater assessment and strategy call, this is a full standalone strategy session where, whether you work with Legally Fit or not, this is designed to just walk you through what's your time commitment, what's your study plan going to look like, do you need to take July, do you need to take February, how should we adjust your schedule based off of your scorecard? We interpret your scorecard, right, and all of these things. So that's a 1-hour call. It's $250 for that hour, and that meeting will be directly with me, and I'll walk you through what ultimately will be your plan of attack for your next exam. The consultation call is free. That's 15 minutes, and that's your ability to just ask me or one of our team members just some questions about the program that you may have, right? Whether it's a good fit, any specifics that we didn't cover, you can always call and reach out to us. All right. So that's everything. Again, thank everyone for coming today. Please follow us on Instagram and TikTok if you don't already. We'll put out the information about the upcoming events on there as far as other valuable information. So our handles are right there. Take a moment to follow us. But other than that, again, thank you all for coming today. I hope you enjoyed it. And I truly do hope that every single one of you guys can use this information to pass your next bar attempt. I'll pause here and open it up to Q&A for those that want to stick around. Okay, let me go to the chat first and see. Yes, we offer payment plans. Okay, you'll do the consultation call. The 1-hour repeater assessment and strategy call, Estefani, is not included. So that is something separate that's a standalone, because students can either sign up with the program or not from there. So yeah, that would be a separate thing to do if you wanted to utilize that. All right, Gamila, you said, how do you schedule the 15 minutes? We can put the link. I have quick access to that link. Let me put that link in the chat right here.
I took care of that for you.
Okay, awesome. All right. Let me go up and see if I have any other questions. Camilla said, I did waste a lot of time trying to figure out which material to use, bought some that you didn't even use. Yes, that's the example of like, all right, I just got too much. I'm trying to buy my way to passing. And again, in that mindset of just buying more and more and more is not the answer. It's buying it right. Okay, yeah. Instead of scrolling, because it looks like some of the questions got answered. So I'm gonna stay now at the bottom of the chat. So if anybody didn't get their question answered or has one, go ahead and put it into the chat now for me, please. The sample study materials. Yes. And by the way, we're going to be sending a follow-up email. It's going to have literally a link for everything, but also let's put it in here now because sometimes you guys might not have the settings yet where our emails go directly to your inboxes. It might go into the promotions or the spam and things like that. So let's get you your, yep. So Monique just put in the chat, you have the link to your sample materials. Have a good night. You're very welcome for this event. Okay, Gamila, which question are you referring to? I saw a few different things from you. You're welcome, Nikema. My pleasure, Isabella. Okay, that question was answered, so maybe we missed it. But yeah, the answer was that the 250 is a standalone service separate from the bar prep. So that 250 is you from there can sign up for whatever program that you want. And it's going to give you in-depth scorecard interpretation, customization of your schedule, creating that with you and all those things that does not go towards any tuition. So that would be a separate cost. Yeah, no problem. Yes, the next link is the consult. Okay, so that link that I just sent was the 250 assessment link. Yes, Gamila, we're going to send that out, bring it that follow-up email this evening. If you don't see anything, please make sure you check your other folders. Sometimes if you have the Gmail, it has like the promotions folder, the socials folder, the spam. So yeah, we'll be sending all of our recaps. So make sure if you don't see it in your primary, you're checking all those other folders. You are very welcome, Gamila. Absolutely, Jonathan. Talk soon. You're welcome. You're welcome. Awesome. All right, everybody. Well, yeah, I really enjoy putting on these sessions. I really enjoy helping you guys as much as I can, even if you're not fully in the program. But again, this is just a small bit of what we do inside of Legally Fit. So we hope you all join us for our course. Don't forget to take advantage of those discounts that are good for the next 3 days if you do want to join. So that way you can get a little money off. And yeah, from there, good luck. You guys got this. Process those emotions, reflect on why we went wrong and what we could do better, and then create that attack plan. Have a good night, everybody. Take care.